I am so excited to be doing this with a dear friend of mine. She's been such a huge impact on my life. Her name is Lorri Fleming. She has been my doula for both of my births, and I just want to hug you through the screen. And I'm just so happy you're doing this because I know so many women who are listening to this are going to get so much from what you have to say and your energy.
Thank you, Nikki. Hugs are always welcome.
Oh
Food
my,
for the soul.
it's true. It's you are just talking to you feels like one beautiful embrace. And I remember at one point, like just randomly calling you and crying. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I think we were doing an Instagram live and it was about like releasing fear. And I was like, what's wrong with me? And you just smiled and you said, honey, you're pregnant. Nikki, you're pregnant. And I was like, yes, I am. Like it was just, I think it was like a week from my due date. There's so much emotion here and there can be so much noise. And so the reason that we're doing this is, well, number one, we're hosting an incredible first of its kind ultimate prenatal retreat this October. And we thought this would be a great opportunity to just connect a bit more and also let anyone listening to this know kind of what we're all about and also to get some benefit out of this and to really help with the mental preparation for birth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not just being told what to do and a step-by-step process. It's about tuning in and it's about listening to what's right for you and getting some information to make really good educated decisions for yourself.
Big time.
And that your birth is really something that it impacts the rest of your life. It is a day or a night or a day and a night in some cases, but it's something that is just absolutely a rite of passage. It's something that influences life going forward. So yeah, making sure that you get that information and that you can discern what's right for you and what's not right for you is a big part of it.
That's something I've always appreciated so much about you is that you're not part of this shoulding culture. Well, you should do this and you should do that. Like you are all about empowering your students, your clients, your mentees, because you've been mentoring doulas for so long now as well, for what, like it's been decades. And the
Yeah.
owner of the womb here, like you are like the ultimate, I look at you as the ultimate mothering figure for so many other women. But like, how do we get out of this shoulding place? You know, the place of the shoulding. And I think these are your words. Stop letting everyone should all over you.
Yeah, well, isn't that the truth that there's a lot of shoulding out there, and we're shoulding on ourselves, we're shoulding on other people, and it's really coming from a place of not ill meaning. For the most part, people are doing what they feel is best or what they did and what worked for them. But that is where the similarities often end, is that it's not a one size fits all. I mean, I know that I did the best I could as a doula, and I think I hopefully positively influenced many, thousands of lives with the ability that I didn't tell anybody what to do. I really helped them tune in intrinsically to what felt right to them and maybe asked the most, pertinent questions so that they came up with their own answers and that there is no, I think because I had a great hospital birth with my OB and then a great home birth with midwives, um, what I learned, if not with my own birth, certainly over the, thousands of families that I've been not just with in person. I haven't been with thousands in person, but thousands certainly through the womb and through our practitioners, is that there is no right way to do this.
How many births do you think you've attended? I'm just curious.
I at one point I calculated it like well before I retired. I say I retired, but I attended two births this year.
Oh my God.
One being as I transitioned myself from mama to nana to grandma, which was beautiful. And then a somebody that I was very, very close to that had a baby the same week that's my granddaughter was born. So I don't know if I ever will truly retire, but certainly not an active deal. We have a great team at the womb, and that I speak to doulas all over the place who are really amazing at what they do. But you know what? The best ones, Nikki, are the ones that, yes, they know a lot of information. Yes, they do a lot of training, but they're the ones that are the best listeners.
Mhm.
And if we want to talk about finding the right doula, it's not necessarily what they have on paper or where they did their training or what course they took or what information they know. I think interviewing doulas and meeting with several doulas and then really tuning out the noise and tuning in to who is going to love you through this process the best, you and your partner or whomever you have on your birthing team, who's going to be one, a really good listener and who's going to bring a lot more love to the process because that's what you and your baby deserve.
That's such a beautiful, simple answer because I'm often asked this by students. So, how do I find a good doula? And I often say, yeah, like interview them, figure out who you vibe with. Like, who do you feel most comfortable with? Who do you feel like you want to be vulnerable with? Who do you feel safest with? Like, those, it's hard to put your finger on that, isn't it?
It is hard to because it's not outside in. It's not asking the right questions.
Mhm.
It's about listening. And it's about like, you should feel after that first meeting, and hopefully you have a free consultation. Any, great doulas are going to do free consultations where they're going to meet with somebody to see if they're the right fit for you too. Because I've met with people where I've thought, what, this is not the right client or family for me because I know that there's somebody else who could serve this family better than me, or they need something that is not feeling intrinsically right to me either. And that's not a judging thing. That's just there's a doula for every client and a client for every doula. And so, yeah, it's not about what questions to ask necessarily, although you can get that information online. It's a feeling. By the end of that meeting, first meeting and consultation, you should feel like I can't have a baby without you, even though you can. And they should also feel like they can't wait to be there.
Right. A mutual enthusiasm
Totally.
and connection. Yeah, that's really good. That's good advice. How many would you say, like someone listening to this, like interview three? I mean, obviously it's so individual, but do you have general advice?
Yeah, generally we tend to say three people. However, if you met, if you did meet with one person and you were like, oh my gosh, yes, like it just feels right.
Mhm.
Um, do you have to interview more? I don't know. That's totally, you'll get it. You'll know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't interview anybody else but you. Like, I'm sold. Good. Good. Let's do this.
We knew each other ahead of time, so I think you knew my heart and I knew yours. And yeah, I knew. And when you get that feeling that you can bring something um to somebody's experience and I truly honestly it's not just, it sounds trite to say it's just about bringing more love to the process, but it really is, like it really is every birthing experience, even if there are things that turn into more procedure based versus process based. And um even if things don't go the way, maybe we can talk at some point about birth plans or birth options. If they don't go the way that you choose or envisioned, if you're loved through the process, you generally will view your experience as a positive experience.
It's so true. Okay, so I think people often still ask, well, why do I need a doula if I have a midwife? Like there's confusion around the role of a doula. Can you clarify that?
The role of a doula is not clinical. So, a midwife or an obstetrician or a family physician in some cases, some places, are primary healthcare providers. A doula is not a primary healthcare provider, which means that the bonus to not being a primary healthcare provider is that you don't have to focus on any of the clinical work. You're not doing any of the internal examinations. You're not certainly catching the baby. I mean, unless there's a precipitous labor and you're the only person there and you're obviously doing that, which once in a blue moon does happen. But you're not providing the medical care. You are there to give them some information to make sure that they have the childbirth preparation that they need ahead of time, to get to know them ahead of time, to help them be an advocate for themselves, to tune into, maybe some of the, give them options when it comes to positioning, to remind them of the things that they're going to forget in the middle of a contraction, even if they do know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're with them postpartum too. So the relationship doesn't, you meet prenatally several times, you do get to know each other, and then there throughout the entire birth process, and then you're there postpartum. So you're not just there for the big event. You're there afterwards to answer questions, and that sometimes happens, in the middle of the night. That sometimes happens. Sometimes as a postnatal doula, you're actually working overnight with those families to help them through some roller coaster rides and some challenges as well.
I'll never forget the one time I remember being in labor. I think this was with my first, with Gabrielle. And I was like, I hadn't had any meds in that point, and I didn't know what I kind of was trying to see how I did, and I was going in with an open mind. And I think I was in transition. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And you were like, Nikki, you are doing it. I'll never forget when you said that. You said, Nikki, you are doing this. And I was like, she's right. And it just gave me this boost. So in that moment, it's like having someone who can be there and support you and just remind you of your strength. I think that's just so important.
Right. And the reason you said that, and it's a very, very common phrase that people say, I'm done. I don't want to do this any longer. And it's usually in transition. Um, the shortest, but most intense period, um, is that we are thinking about what's next. Like I might be able to handle this in this moment, but what's next? What's coming? And a doula is there to remind you to be in the moment, right here, right now, during this contraction, this moment, to breathe, right, in this moment. And that yes, you are doing it. You are here. You are doing exactly what you need to do right now.
Well, amen to that. Thank you so much, Lori. I can't wait to talk more.
Thank you, Nikki. If you're actually supposed